Hi everybody, so this is the video for section B, operations with matrices. So in this section we're going to go through a few of the sort of more basic operations that you can do with matrices. So we're going to start with addition and subtraction. So you cannot add together any two matrices or subtract them for that matter. They must be exactly the same shape. So we talked in the previous video about the order of a matrix. In order to do addition and subtraction with matrices, that order must be identical. And then once you've established that they are in fact able to be added or subtracted, then you simply add or subtract the corresponding elements. So the elements that are in the same position, you either add them if that's what you're supposed to do or subtract them. So we have two matrices here, A and B. We can see that they're both exactly the same shape. They're both 2 by 2 matrices. So that means we can go ahead and add or subtract. So if we start with the addition here, A plus B, we're going to take the elements that are in the same position and we're going to add them together. So that gives me 5, and then I have 4 plus 0, so that gives me 4. Negative 1 plus 2, so we get positive 1, and 5 plus 7 for 12. Put that in brackets, and that's the answer to the addition of A plus B. Similarly, to subtract them, you just subtract the elements that are in the same position, so we would do 2 minus 3. Now order here absolutely matters. You're doing A minus B, so you have to start with the proper matrix A, subtract from A, B. So we've got 2 minus 3 for negative 1, 4 minus 0 for 4, negative 1 minus 2, negative 3, 5 minus 7, negative 2. Put that in brackets, and that's the answer to the subtraction. So addition and subtraction are very, very simple, provided that the matrices are the same shape. Then we get into this concept of a zero matrix. So a zero matrix is just a matrix where every single element is 0. So usually it's denoted by O. I know it's not super easy to distinguish my O's from zeros, but this would be an O, and then your matrix would be filled with zeros. It could be any size, any shape. This is just an example of a 2 by 2 one, but a zero matrix denoted by O could be any size, any shape, just filled with zeros. So then if you have any matrix and you add together the zero matrix, you will always get your original matrix. So adding a zero matrix, subtracting a zero matrix for that matter, leaves the original matrix completely unchanged. Okay, so the next thing we want to get to here is scalar multiplication. So multiplying your matrix by a scalar. So if you've not come across that word in science yet, it has to do with vector quantities, scalar quantities. Here it just means multiplying your matrix by some value, some real number. So the example here that I have, we have a matrix A, a 2 by 3 matrix, and we want to multiply that by 3. So we want to multiply the entire matrix by 3. So in order to do that, we multiply every single one of the elements by 3. So essentially it's kind of like the distributive law, if you want to think about it that way. You're having a 3 sort of out in front of your matrix, and you're going to multiply every single value in your matrix by 3. So the answer on this one then, we would have 2 by 3 to give us 6, 1 by 3 to give us 3, 3 by 3, 9, negative 1 by 3, 2 by 3, and 4 by 3. Put that in a set of brackets. And that's how you do scalar multiplication. So multiplying your matrix by some value. I just want to make a note here. You cannot divide matrices by scalars. So you cannot do like A divided by 3. Instead of doing that, which is sort of the same kind of thing, which is a little hard for students to kind of wrap their heads around sometimes, we're going to multiply it by the reciprocal, which essentially is sort of the same thing. Because if we take a number and divide by 2, you're going to get the same number as if you multiplied that original number by 1/2. But it's just sort of a point of, I don't know, it's just, we just don't do it. We don't divide by scalars. Instead, we multiply by reciprocals. All right, one more thing I want to talk about is the negative of a matrix. So if you have a matrix A and you want to figure out what is the negative of that matrix, then we're just going to multiply all of the elements by -1. So if our matrix here A is this, then -A we will get by multiplying each of those elements by -1. So essentially just changing the symbol on all of them. +1 there, -2, -4. Just multiplying each of our elements by -1. So interesting to note, and maybe you've sort of pieced this all together already, if you have a matrix A and you add together the negative of that matrix, you're going to get the 0 matrix, that O matrix where all of the elements are 0, because if we take +2 and add -2, we get 0. If we get 1 plus -1, 0. 3 plus -3, 0. So you can see why this turns out to be true. So that's just an introduction to some of the more basic operations that you can do with matrices. We're going to get into some more complicated stuff as we move through this unit, but that about does it for section B.